Welcome to Dead by Daylight. Let me share with you a story like many others have before at this very campfire. Sharing stories of home brings out the belief of urban legends, stories, and the darker secrets of communities. With those myths, something came forth, a shared fear of something awful. Your new map is Oakside Park. This park was famous for its connections to disappearances and its haunting atmosphere. Long since abandoned, it's nothing more than a memory of a nightmare shared by countless communities and connected tragedies. The new killer is the Slenderman. Brought forth by survivors, their shared tall tales and legends had a connection, one strong enough to manifest itself naturally by growing in the shadow of the entity, uninvited. They didn't believe it, and thought the story was safe enough to share here, of all places. After all, myths aren't real. A figure with arms long and outstretching, with tendrils extending from its back, and a pale face devoid of features had formed in the fog itself, an enigma to both survivors and the entity, with a frightening presence. The Slenderman's power is awful paranoia. A being, forged from the collective fears and stories of the past, it preys and warps their perception to uncomfortable degrees, leaving them to abandon familiar comforts, while unaware just how close they were to the figure beyond the tree line. Slenderman distorts the expectation of survivors by its very presence, evicting generators from the trial entirely. In their place, supernaturally bound pages will appear in the trial throughout the locale. It is up to the survivors to find and claim these pages before the Slenderman does. For each page claimed by anyone, killer or survivor, he grows in power. The more pages collected, the more survivors are exposed to the truth of what they have brought into this reality. Up to 3 pages can appear in the trial at a time, and any time a page is claimed by either the Slenderman or survivors, a new page will appear elsewhere after a short period of time. Pages can be claimed instantly by the Slenderman, but survivors take significantly longer to claim a page, forcing them to be wary as they attempt to take the object before their foe would contest them for it. As the trial goes on, the Slenderman's influence spreads like a sickness. Once 8 pages in total are claimed by survivors, the exit gates become powered. But the Slenderman is at his strongest once 8 pages are collected by himself or by survivors. Pages claimed by the Slenderman do not count towards the survivor's progression, but will still advance his capabilities. At 3 pages collected, survivors within a short distance of a page suffer from the unnerved status effect. Unnerved survivors are unable to see beyond a short distance of themselves, their vision shrouded and their own heartbeats pounding in their ears, obscuring the senses while fear settles into their mind. At 5 pages, whenever a survivor becomes unnerved, they are highlighted by killer instinct for a few seconds, revealing their position and allowing the Slenderman to seek out his victim with ease. Finally, at 8 pages, every survivor becomes unnerved permanently, letting paranoia set in and the feeling of being watched from afar terrifyingly real. This is not the end, however, for unnerved survivors are prey to the manipulation of the Slenderman. By pressing and holding the power button, all unnerved survivors are highlighted with killer instinct for several seconds. By looking in the direction of a survivor still revealed this way, the Slenderman can activate Arrival. Activating Arrival causes Slenderman to teleport to the closest edge of the targeted survivor's unnerved vision, just barely within sight to begin spreading your terror. Successfully teleporting with Arrival will deplete the power gauge completely and has a long period of time before it is usable again. The Slenderman comes with 3 new perks. Diversify your selection of prey with lasting impression. After hitting 4 unique survivors with a basic attack, this perk reveals the auras of all survivors in the trial for a short time. After the auras are revealed, this perk resets, allowing additional uses to spread fear through one or many communities. Tarnish their sense of security and safety with invasive silence. Whenever a totem is cleansed or blessed by a survivor, that survivor suffers from the deafened status effect for a period of time, inviting in darker forces to pursue them. If that totem was a hex, the survivor becomes the obsession and shares the same burden of silence with all other survivors, pulling everyone into a state of anxiety. Your legend will spread like a great fire and fester within every word spoken by your victims through hex word of mouth. By spilling the blood of a survivor, it inhabits the nearest dull totem with a hex. While this hex stands, any survivor that attempts to interact with it will be cursed by it for a period of time, suffering a penalty to repair, healing, and cleansing speeds. During this time, the totem is blocked by the entity, and when the duration ends, the totem is unblocked, returning to its dull state. Every myth has some truth to it, no matter how quiet of a whisper it starts as. Be careful what stories you tell, or it may return to you in a terrifying form. Avert your eyes, or succumb to terror with the Slender chapter concept for Dead by Daylight.